All right, a little bit of silver stacking going on here. I am showing this partly as a proof of ownership video. Another thing is a response video to a couple other people talking about this stuff. Lord Humongous, a couple other guys I'll post as a response video. My total accumulation I'm not going to show, and I will say that it fluctuates. I don't always have it. I use this for securing credit in business deals. And it is something that sometimes I have to give it to somebody to hold as a kind of a guarantee on a business transaction. So right now, this 100 ounces is mine. I completed it this year. I try to accumulate about 100 ounces a year as a savings, as a hard savings. In the past, I was gathering survival supplies around. But there does get to be a point of a storage space and sharing situation. And the sharing situation went really bad about 2 years ago. And it went bad in part because some of the people involved thought they could extort money and the silver stash from me. There were two groups of people that were like, oh, well, we have this coming, or we want this, or, you know, you're going to do that. Part of what I have to do now, though, is make a proof of ownership video. Part of what goes into one of the bricks that I make is a store receipt, and then these are dated, too. So these are all 2013, 2014, or newer production stuff, most of it 2016 production. The P means it's the Engelhard Prospector series, kind of my favorites. I personally really like the bullion that, you know, if you got to pay a 50 to 30%, I'm sorry, not 30%, 30 cent premium to get, let's say, a little nicer than average bullion, that's great. I won't pay an extra dollar or two. I won't do that. I will pay the $1.50 premium from time to time, but if I'm buying in bulk, I kind of want it cheaper than that. But what I find is having a selection of silver, not having all match, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of the reason for that is there are forgeries out there. And if, you know, word, rumor, 99% of the time it is a bullshit rumor, but it sticks with people. It gets to be the perception that, oh, a particular type of coin is a forgery, and all of a sudden your money's no good if you're using silver as money because, oh, they've decided that that's a forgery. Well, I'll whip out a different style of coin and say, what about this one? Now, if you go through 3 or 4 coins and a person on the other side of the counter is still accusing you of peddling forgeries, they're full of shit and they're about to pull a scam. In fact, they're probably just about to try to rob you one way or another. So when I brick these, I kind of prefer them not all matching, unless it's something kind of cool, you know, and so it doesn't hurt to get a selection on this type of stuff. I really prefer to get matching size rounds. Now, between the different companies, they don't always match, but they're, you know, they're all 1 troy ounce. They're all fairly close, but I kind of prefer that standard sizing, so it goes in these plastic tubes. The tubes hold 20 coins each. For me, it usually takes a little while before I can accumulate enough to brick them up. But I'll go through. A lot of times the coin can hold over 20 ounces, so you got to put like a little something in there as a filler and take that up. Now, some of the art coins have like a little more rim going on to protect the artwork, so they'll stack deeper in there. So whether or not a stack looks taller in one coin holder than the other doesn't matter that much until you count the coins. Okay, so in fact, even if you weigh it out, it may weigh a little differently, but usually the difference between a couple of 100 packs is not a full ounce of difference. So that's one of the things that's going to show you that nothing's been shortchanged on there. What can happen with somebody pulling a slick move is they're substituting old silver dollars in the middle of a stack. So that's something where I kind of prefer to use the semi-transparent stuff on the stacks. And we really don't want to see a lot of color differences between the coins. And we want to see good, fresh, white metal coins. If somebody needs to break open one, again, this would typically be 100 ounces, typically for something that's used in about a $2,000 transaction, is traditional and appropriate for somebody to want to pop it open, take a look through. For storage purposes, and let's say somebody you trust, somebody you're dealing with, we're going to show this thing sealed up. But basically, I put a little plastic in there to kind of hold these. No reason to tape them shut once you're doing a brick seal. We just kind of, whoops, going to put the right cap with the right one. A lot of these things look like they're compatible with each other and they're not. So, and if you're buying in bulk, you know, usually if you're buying 7, 8, 9 coins from the coin dealer, they'll kick you one of these for free. If they're being a real cheapskate, maybe they want a buck or two for the plastic holder. But they usually have extras around. If you want individual sleeves for all your stuff, that's kind of when they get a little bit irritated because there's extra labor involved. Okay, they start you start asking for individual sleeves for 100 little ounces, then they start kind of getting a little irritated. What I do is I'll put them in these things. If I got to pad them with a little foam peanut type stuff, I'll do that. I like to throw a store receipt in wherever there's a little extra room. The tubes can hold, they're made to hold 20, but because of some variations in the thicknesses on coins, the thickness versus diameter, they tend to make the tubes a little bit oversized, so there's a little room for the foam or padding or something to be in there, or maybe for the coins to be in the little, there are some heat shrink type sub-containers for them. I don't use those. I just, you want it in the 20. If I got to break into one of these, shit hits the fan, we're having to use these as a form of currency. This should cover meals for a couple of people in an okay restaurant, not a wonderful type of high-end place, but it should cover some meals. It should cover some gas. Maybe not fill up your big rig truck full of gas, but you should be able to pay for things with this. And at least on normal common commerce routes, you should be able to if there's a currency crisis. If there's not, it's more of a social crisis than a currency crisis. Things have to be dealt with as they come on that. But as long as you demonstrated willingness to pay for goods and services, you've done your due diligence in handling business. And 100 ounces of these things should be able to get you through a month. That's considering if there was a bank crisis, you're not going to be making mortgage and rent payments during that time period. You're going to be paying for food, fuel, firewood, coal, propane, things like that. You're probably not making car payments, mortgage payments, insurance payments. A lot of these payments that you would be making during a normal non-shit hit the fan time, as part of the ledger economy, as part of the credit economy, you make all those payments. When that crashes, you don't make those payments. But day-to-day things you got to buy, you got to pay for somehow. And this is a pretty good way of working that out. So we're going to shrink wrap this. I'm going to show how the unit works. All right, so standard shrink vacuum seal bag. I'll lay those right across. They're not individually taped. I would consider putting an oxygen absorber in these, but today I'm not. I'm probably going to break this open within a year anyway. I do like to leave a store receipt in one of them, just to kind of establish myself as the owner, date of purchase type stuff. And we're going to put this in the vacuum sealer. I like to make the bags oversized, but you'll notice on the width, this works just fine. I leave it oversized because I may want to cut open the bag and then reseal it just to keep things relatively tidy as it would get transported around and not really rattle and beat, and it's just, one decent controlled unit of 100 ounces. Alright, so there's a brick. You can see it's nice and tight in there. You can tell as long as it stays tight, the air seal is solid. Now, this could develop a little hole, and then it'll get all loose again. But basically, if we wrap this with tape, that becomes a solid brick. Okay, I mean relatively solid brick. I Probably could have packed a little bit more foam or stuffed another foam peanut in some of these things. But that's how I prefer bricking the silver. And then we just mark it, and that's good to go. Oh, and one of the things about taping it up is that if you use masking tape, just right on that with a Sharpie pen. But if you bend this over right so that the clear part can show through the semi-clear bottoms of these little things, or the tops, whichever side is the clear top, you'd be able to get a look at what is at least the top coin in some of these things, the dominant coin for the stack. And that's how I prefer bricking 100 ounces so that it becomes a unit. For survival purposes, alternative currency purposes, far better than numismatic, which I think is just absolutely positively should be avoided, or 100-ounce bricks, which are just risky to deal with. Not so much because of actual forgeries out there, but the perception of forgeries, which makes it difficult to sell the 100-ounce bricks for full value, and makes the premium on having 100 ounces of coins a better way to go.